Let's go to the phone lines and speak to Dr. Kwesi Aning. Dr. Kwesi Aning is with the Kofi Annan International Peacekeeping Training Center. He's the Director of Academic Affairs, and he has been on this show talking to us about this and was at the Emil Short Commission providing solutions, including resort to the UN for support. Is that where this has gotten to? Good morning and thanks for joining us, sir.
Yes, good morning.
Right. So if you have become aware of this documentary by Manasseh Azure Awene, it's not strange to you, is it?
No, it doesn't surprise me that we have a militia of 5,000. But what surprises me is the location where this militia was based and was training. That's number one. Number two is the flagrant flouting of the laws of registration with respect to private security companies, if this is a private security company. And number three is the failure of our security and intelligence services to know that such an organization was located at such a sensitive, both security and a cultural and a historical site.
The author of the documentary informs us that it is not the case that national security is unaware, that in fact they attempted and failed. But government now says they actually succeeded. Joint National Security and Police evicted them in October of 2018.
So that even raises a more disturbing question. If national security was aware and the police visited them, then it puts in sharp relief the challenges of state institutions in performing the functions that by law they should be performing to protect lives and property. If national security and the Ghana Police Service were not able to dislodge this group as far back as October 2018, then there are disturbing questions that we have to ask. Number one, under whose authority and under whose powers, whether written or oral, could this group resist and flout the orders of statutory security agencies in the country?
The castle also... Okay, go ahead.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Furthermore, it just shows the limited powers of the institutions that we know should be protecting us. If other non-statutory organizations think they are better connected and they are better protected by a higher authority. So, having been dislodged, this is the time that we need to take a step back, reflect, and ask very difficult questions. And once more, the Parliamentary Committee on Defense and Interior cannot and should not keep quiet. These questions must be asked, and the people of Ghana, convinced.
You say your major
causing fear. Yeah.
You say your major surprise is, or really your surprise is, where the venue they were using for their training. The government says, as far back as 5th of March 2017, the president tasked the Ministry of Tourism, Arts and Culture to spearhead the transformation of that place into a museum. So that is no longer a security zone. Shouldn't that be important?
No, that is untrue. First, when I appeared before the Short Commission, my vehicle was not allowed to enter because I was told it was a security zone, and I didn't have the appropriate authorization. Number two, no individual or group of individuals can use a place designated as a museum without authorization to perform this particular type of activity.
An activity is, Ankuma just mentions to us the law that criminalizes that particular activity that goes on. Okay, proceed.
Yeah. Okay. Any place of historical importance that is designated as a museum, and particularly for a previous seat of government. And if you look at the history, when the Queen of Denmark visited Ghana a couple of years ago, maybe 18 months, one of the important aspects of the Osu Castle was that that is one of the few areas where the colonial Danish army actually lost a battle, in which the king of Akwemu was able to take the key to the castle away. So when the Queen of Denmark came to Ghana, he visited the king of Akwemu, and that key was shown to her. So that even if it has been designated under the Ministry of Tourism as a museum, it is of such priceless national, historical, and identity importance that no ordinary group or individual could have had access without much higher authority, flouting our own rules and giving that permission. So I think the explanations around this group having access just deepens the mistrust, first between the two parties, about the need to disband armed groups.
But this specific incident, this specific situation, what should be the approach of the state security now?
I don't think the state security itself, has the power to do anything, because they went there in October, and this illegal group unregistered in Ghana was able to flout their authority. Once more, it comes back to the political will, the sincerity, and the openness with which public discourse and rhetoric must be matched by what happens in secret. That kind of behavior creates fear, it creates mistrust amongst all parties, and once more, it undermines and hollows out the powers that we've given to statutory security forces and national institutions to function.
The president, although is the head of national security, so to speak, is taking a flag from former President Mahama, from the minority in parliament. In fact, they are saying he should resign. Do you think they are taking this a bit too far?
Well, look, let me look at the technical professional side and leave the politics out. You see, when we take the Ofosu Ampofu tape, plus his letter to the president, and the hula baloo that followed, and now this particular discovery by Manasseh, okay, it embellishes my point that there's so much mistrust and grandstanding between the two parties that they themselves alone cannot sit around the table to negotiate around disbanding such groups. Question, are there other such groups that we may not know about? Okay, look, we are playing a dangerous game with the existence of Ghana Incorporated.
Okay, you just asked a question. You asked a question that arouses my curiosity. You had assessed that there were about 28 of them so far. Was this group part of it?
This group was not part of it.
Okay.
This group was not part of it. So I'm going to make a very clear, bold statement. And let me phrase it as a question. Are there other groups in existence that the national security framework may know, but who are so powerful as to flout their orders to disband, as we have just seen? Or are there other groups in existence that we don't know at all, who are also training, armed, and might take instructions from people that we don't know? My fear and worry is that when you have 5,000 or more trained men whose authority is not to the state, but to individuals or to their paymasters, then it is easy for those groups to be infiltrated, particularly when they are afraid of being disbanded and going back to selling mobile phones and other things, that they will then switch their allegiance to anyone, Ghanaian or non-Ghanaian.
What's your worry? They may not have come under your radar because they are what they say they are and not what we are now seeking to project them to be. And again,
look,
and again, okay, yes, go ahead.
Look, when people make this noise that they are not militias, you see, we've got to be very careful about charlatans in this business making assessments and conclusions for which they don't have any empirical evidence nor have any research evidence. You don't need any particular skill sets to become a militia. And I think for the sake of this country, we shouldn't engage in semantics.
So it doesn't really matter that they are being trained by retired military officers?
That even makes it more dangerous because retired military officers, look, the military is a very unique, specialized institution with particular skills. When you retire, those skills don't go away in terms of weapon use, stripping and assembling those weapons, even in the dark or when you are blindfolded. Shooting to hit at your target, the ability to assemble explosives and to manufacture IEDs. Okay? So the fact that those who train them are retired doesn't make them less dangerous or less knowledgeable. Now, when you pass on those skill sets, 5,000 men under arms or trained to use weaponry is bigger than the Air Force. Or I think it's bigger than the Air Force and the Navy combined. Okay, we've got to look at the figures and not allow so-called experts without any clue, a track record in both research and empirical fieldwork to muddy the waters.
Okay. Now maybe quickly.
Potential threat to Ghana. Earlier, we are honest.
You have said that. You have said that. Can you finish in a minute for me? And I want you to tell me, if my daily routine is to join a group of energetic men wanting to exercise, and we are trained sort of. We are helped to exercise by either former military persons or even persons who are in the military current. Does that automatically make us constitute us into a militia or a group that is seeking to be vigilante?
No, those who are in the physical education side of the military are not the people who train others to go to war.
Okay.
Those in the education side of the Ministry of Defense are not those who train people in how to shoot.
Okay.
Okay?
All right.
So if these retired military men have skill sets in weapons handling, then it transforms the training into something else.
Okay. Thank you very much, Dr. Kwesi Aning, for
it's always a great pleasure.
Your incisive insights once again. And